You know, we're here right now, and I'm glad that you mentioned the in-theaters aspect of it, because you have now really set the standard to own the month of October, sir, as far as like the numbers of features and films and things that you have coming out.
Woo!
It's been one of the most highly anticipated things on the Fandango calendar.
Oh boy.
And we're going to go ahead and talk about this. I mean, really, I think you told me, you said you've been trying to make this picture for how long?
It's been 8 years.
8 years.
No matter what I tweet, thanks to hopefully many of you in this audience, no matter what I tweet, I could tweet about a haircut, and Five Nights at Freddy's is all that we talk about. That's all that we see.
I will say that.
And there were some doubters. A lot of people didn't believe it. I said in 2 years we're going to have a movie. There were some doubters. But we have a major motion picture that is Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
Woo! Woo!
And right now, we're going to go ahead and take a moment and let you guys take a peek at the trailer.
Oh, boy.
Five Nights at Freddy's.
In case anyone hasn't seen it.
Here we go. That's got to feel pretty good to watch that after 8 years. But I'm going to go ahead and bring out the director of Five Nights at Freddy's, Emma Tammy. Come on out, Emma. Have a seat. Just hearing how many people were screaming. You guys already have favorite moments in this trailer. It just came out. Like, people are quoting it already. So I'm definitely going to talk to you a lot about this, Emma, because I know that folks have been basically anticipating this since the first time they played the game, let alone maybe announce the trailer. But Jason, I do want to start with you, because 8 years is a long time to take to make a movie like Five Nights at Freddy's. But I will have to say, it does probably feel very satisfactory to see the reaction that you've already gotten from just the trailer being released. It was literally one of the fastest viewed trailers, I think, for like a Universal horror picture, and it just like lit up the internet. I think 5 million views.
It's an amazing feeling. One of the reasons, which will be interesting to you guys, why the movie took so long, is that Hollywood sometimes, not always, but I think sometimes makes the mistake when they're adapting like a super popular book or a super popular game to start out at the very beginning to make a movie that not only will satisfy the fans of the book or the game, but bring a larger audience. There's always that pressure to bring a larger audience. And one of the reasons this movie took so long to do is that as Scott and I that's how we started too. But what became clear through the development process is that the only way to pull this off was to make the movie fans of Five Nights at Freddy's. And if anyone else came, fine, but we didn't want to try and make a movie like, if you like Five Nights at Freddy's, you'll like the movie, and if you don't, you'll get introduced to what it is. Now, I'm probably you know, they won't be happy that I'm saying this, but what Emma did so well, and what we finally figured out, is that we should make a movie that works for the fans. If anyone else comes, that's great, but not try and please them too. And that's what I think what you and Scott really succeeded at doing.
Yeah. And I will say, yes, congratulate, really big applause on that. I may have seen it. I may have gotten to see it. Don't be jealous.
Maybe.
But maybe. If maybe I got to see it, I would say that putting those little touches that people that sat late at night either watching a Let's Play of somebody else playing Five Nights at Freddy's or people that were actually playing the game would recognize, how much of that did you come to this process with, and how much did you have to discover when you were signed on? Like, how much into the lore of Five Nights at Freddy's did you have to get into this one before you started into it?
I started doing a deep dive right after my first call with Jason, and started playing the game immediately. And I was like, oh my God, like the atmosphere of this world and the nostalgia that it was like triggering for me of creepy animatronics that I had seen as a kid. I was like, this is a no-brainer for a horror film. This is a cinematic like feast. So I was super, super stoked to take it on. But in terms of your question, you know, we were trying to pull in elements of the lore that with Scott, you know, felt like really right for this specific film. Obviously, the lore is vast, and we couldn't include everything. So having his guidance on what he really felt was gonna speak to the fans, and as you say, be a movie for the fans was huge. But then, like every department, and of course Jim Henson's Creature Shop was looking for opportunities. Yes, yes, yes.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
Yes.
We're gonna get there.
They were looking for opportunities to make it totally authentic to Fnaf, and also pull in Easter eggs and pull in little details that we knew were just going to make it rich, and hopefully every frame of this film has things to unpack and savor throughout. So.
I love that you mentioned that you wanted to bring in the Fnaf fans, because I would say in casting this, I found out later you really did enlist the fans, in the sense that Josh Hutcherson, I found out through reading on this, was literally so pumped and such a big advocate to be a part of this film. And then from what you can even see from the trailer, he gives just such a performance in this. Talk about your leading man in this one and how much he had to commit to that. Yeah, let's give it up for Josh.
Yeah, give it up. I mean, Josh is almost in, and he's not in every scene, but it's very close. This movie hangs on him, and we knew that the character Mike was going to be make or break for this film, and we needed someone who felt as deeply invested in finding the authenticity of that character as bringing the authenticity of Fnaf to the movie. So, you know, we were really building out character arcs that hadn't been explored in the same way in this film. And he was just diving deep every day and had so much fun too. And the young actress, Piper Rubio, who plays his younger sister, is 10 now. She was 9 when we were shooting, and that's about the time that Josh started acting. And their bond was so immediate and really resonated on screen and off screen. So that was super special.
I really want to talk about, yes, the young actors involved in this, also the animatronics, but I will start with you, Jason, because when you commit to this one, I would definitely say from a producer standpoint, I know you guys definitely like to operate small, but the look of this one had to be so perfect and everything in it. Was that early days that you guys decided to work with Jim Henson and the Creatures department, because they really are such the gold standard, or when did that sort of pairing with this come together?
Well, every movie starts out with the following conversation. The director or the writer, whatever, they say, we want to do everything practically. And the producer says, okay. And then he goes, and then the studio, the financier, and then it never happens. Then you get to actually what that means, and you never wind up with practical effects. And this, Emma and Scott set out to do it practically, and we did it practically, and it makes a huge difference, which was great. And it always happens in the beginning, but it never winds up in the movie. It makes the movie so much better. I can't stand CGI. It throws me out of the movies. It's like I'd rather watch a cartoon. I can't stand it. And Scott and Emma really agreed. We didn't start talking that much about those things until we found, you know, we talked to a lot of directors before. We were working with many different directors, and it took Emma to bring it home, and it wasn't until we found the right director, that was Emma, that we started talking about those kind of things. I'm really, really glad that we did, and I'm really glad, I think Emma and I were both really glad and lucky to have Scott had a very firm hand on this from the beginning, you know, scripts, through pre-production, production, post-production, marketing, and we were lucky to have him as an incredible partner all the way through this process.
Yeah, Emma, I want to talk about that too, because obviously there's the committed look of Five Nights at Freddy's, and you can just tell from this trailer it's very committed to that. But translating a video game into the now moving world of motion pictures, there's going to have to be translation, things that add, things that leave. In regards to, you know, the 5 characters that we all know and love and their detailing, how did you guys commit to that, knowing that you were going to be changing the format in the sense it was going to be much richer, it was going to be bigger, it was going to have to play to actual human bodies? How did you guys sort of map all that out?
Yeah, it was really a step-by-step process, and we started with the original designs that Scott shared with us from the game, so that we knew we were, starting with the DNA of these characters that was accurate, and then just every step of the way in terms of how the scale up was going to be, how the fabrics were going to feel and look, exactly what the dye was going to be like, and the color space, and the eyes, and the way these characters emote with their expressions. It was just every single detail was something that we did a process of trial and error, and and checked it out and beta tested it basically. And then when they were all up on their feet, there was a whole other process of rehearsal and really figuring out how best to move each animatronic for each scene and each moment. Are they in a moment where they're playing with Abby? Are they in a moment where they're, creating a jump scare? Those are very different feelings and emotions that we were trying to evoke. So the characters needed to be all these things, which of course they are in the game and among the fan base, loved and feared alike. And yeah, Jim Henson's company just nailed it.
I will say Josh is not alone in this, in the sense that there are some characters that we didn't necessarily see in detail in the film, but are a very big part of the narrative, and that is Matthew Lillard and also Mary Stuart Masterson. And both of them, I just think with his sort of horror background and her sort of like very of that time frame, I felt like they were just so interesting to come into both of these. Talk a little bit about casting both of them in this, because they, I think, really help, again, we are Five Nights at Freddy's, but it's those little bitty roles you see for just a moment that really make the movie.
Totally. I mean, I was saying earlier that for me, the game really evokes so much nostalgia. And I think when we were, getting into production and talking about doing all the effects practically and building the animatronics practically, all of that was also feeling like nostalgic of a time when movies were being made a little differently as the norm. And that was so exciting just on a process level. And then casting-wise, like each character, of course, we were just looking to find the best character. Certainly, Matthew Lillard brings a whole iconic element and flavor to this movie that we are so lucky to have. And he felt so excited to be a part of this. I mean, that was really amazing, too. His kids are fans, and I think he felt like this was as special as we felt like it was to have him. I know Josh felt that way, too, and really everyone. They knew that they were stepping into something that you all were really excited about, and that was a tall order, and everyone wanted to get it right, and really make these characters feel lived in and dimensional, and a nod to the lore, but also, come to life in a whole new way. And of course, Matthew Lillard did that in spades. So I'm excited for you all to see him.
Five Nights at Freddy's is the first movie I have, besides the 6-month-old, who's a little older, who I use on Zoom to get to close deals. I have an older daughter who's 8 years old, who never, doesn't really understand never understood what I did until Five Nights at Freddy's, and someone came up to her at her camp over the summer and said they were talking about Five Nights at Freddy's, and my daughter said, "My daddy produced that movie," and of course they didn't believe her. But we sort of straightened all that out, and now my daughter really feels like I have a real career, which is very exciting. So I have Scott to thank for so many things, and especially that my daughter knows I have a real job now, which is amazing.
Awesome. About 300 credits on IMDb, but now you're official.
Now I exist. They're all
official.
meaningless until Five Nights at Freddy's.
Oh my gosh, that's great. Well, let's be real. She shouldn't have seen most of them up until this point. She should not have.
She doesn't see them. I mean, my God. No.
That might be abusive to make your child watch most of your movies.
Oh my God. Oh.
No. Emma, I will say as well, the great thing about this one is you have these fans that are just going to go nuts. I will say that this is definitely a movie you want to see opening night with other horror heads, other Fnaf heads, other people that are going to be obsessed with it. But I know as the director, there's some stuff that you just put in there and they're like, this is going to be. Can you give us a preview of one of those moments that folks can sort of come? Because there's things that were all like.
Spoiler?
Not a spoiler. More of like, hey, if you were a fan of this in the game, you might see something about this in the movie that you're excited about. Or just like a little amuse-bouche of what the real Five Nights at Freddy's fans could be excited to see in this one.
Well, I will say there's one Fnaf character that we have not yet revealed in any of the teasers or trailers. So that's something to look forward to.
So get ready.
There's somebody that you don't know about. Actually, that's a great one. Yeah, if I knew, I don't know. I don't know anything. The other thing, too, about the Five Nights at Freddy's and with all of the things that you guys do at Blumhouse is because we're partnered with Universal Pictures, is you get to see a lot of this stuff at Universal Hollywood Horror Nights. Jason, I really do have to talk to you a little bit about that because that's such a great part of what you guys also get to do is you get to live in the experience of all of these movies. Can you talk a little bit about some of the great things that you guys have done just this past year with Halloween Horror Nights?
Yeah, sure. We love to scare people in any way possible. So in Horror Nights, both in Los Angeles and in Florida, we had an amazing exorcist maze. We had an incredible, we did a purge experience, so where they have, usually it's Waterworld. We did a big purge experience. Any purge fans out there? Yeah, me too. And so when I saw this, Purge has been asleep for a while, but I saw, this is not breaking news or anything like that, but when I saw it, I was kind of inspired to kind of think, maybe we got to wake the Purge up again. So I think so. I definitely think so.
Maybe.
And we had a terrific third, like a Blumhouse experience where we had the animatronics from Five Nights at Freddy's. We had an amazing kind of tribute to my dear friend Megan, who I, like you, would love to see in a movie, Freddy's versus Megan, but, the intellectual property.
Are you telling us Megan 2? This is, everyone write this down,
Well,
Megan
no,
2.
There is a Megan 2, but sadly none of the animatronics will be in it, but it would be a great fight. The other movie I was pitched was Michael Myers versus Megan, which would be so cool.
Really
if I could
would
just
be.
get the rights holders to get along, I could do all these universes, but I can't. So we can only imagine that movie. We can't get to see it. But anyway, those are our live. We do every year. We do a handful of live experiences with Universal, and it's really fun. They're really fun to go through, and it also gives us different ideas of things we can do in our movies.
As much as I know we're sitting on the Tumblr stage of Comic-Con, there's a fan fiction out there of Megan and Mike Myers. I know there is. I don't know who's written it, but somebody has. This is the internet, ladies and gentlemen. Emma, one more thing before you get out of here. I think that anytime you go into a film like this, there's obviously expectations, but there's going to be surprises on set. Is there anything that really sort of surprised you about, again, adapting a video game, but really expanding it and just, how you guys had to approach it that way?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we've been talking about building these animatronics practically, we were in a little bubble doing that for so long, designing them, building them, testing them, and then we paired them with the cast in the pizzeria set, and the whole thing came alive in a completely new way. And I think seeing the cast interact with the animatronics and their first reactions to them, and then just creating these real live moments between them felt so unique to this project and so special. So that was fun.
I really dig that. I mean, it would be so great if we could show everybody a clip from the movie, but Universal won't let me. They're not about it. Unless you guys wanted to make some noise for it. I'm sorry, this is a Five Nights at Freddy's clip. Can we give it up? All right, sorry, Universal, they made the right amount of noise. Let's take a peek at the clip from Five Nights at Freddy's. All right, everyone, I want to remind you, Five Nights at Freddy's will be in theaters October 27th. Emma, I really have to thank you so much again, ma'am, for this one. I think folks are going to be absolutely terrified. Want to also thank Bryce McGuire, Nycc, And of course, the founder and CEO of Blumhouse, Mr. Jason Blum. Anything to take us out of here?
Thank you. I have a couple of plugs. I want to thank you for moderating. Thank you thank you to the terrific directors who are the authors of these movies. Thank you, Universal, my amazing team. Thank you, Blumhouse. And to all of you, please, if you want to see things early that are cool and neat and different, go to blumhouse.com and sign up for our newsletter, and you'll have lots of treats. And thank you for being such terrific fans. We appreciate you, and we love you. Thank you.
Thank you, guys, and we'll see you guys next time at Blumfest. Thank you.